So we've got a new report from the New York Times that confirms something we had covered earlier and also confirms an Israeli government direct connection for an influence op that they were running directly on American lawmakers. Let's put this up on the screen. Headline here, Israel secretly targets U.S. lawmakers with influence campaign on Gaza war. Israel organized and paid for an influence campaign last year targeting U.S. lawmakers and the American public with pro-Israel messaging as it aimed to foster support for its actions in the war with Gaza. That covert campaign was commissioned by Israel's Ministry of Diaspora Affairs, a government body that connects Jews around the world with the state of Israel, four Israeli officials said. That ministry allocated about $2 million to the operation and hired Stoic, a political marketing firm in Tel Aviv, to carry it out, according to the officials and the documents. ChatGPT was used, apparently, to generate a lot of the posts. In addition to, they would reply to members of Congress in particular. They seem to target African-American members of Congress specifically. They would post links to these 3 fake news websites that they set up with, pro-Israel propaganda, some of it real, drawn from, other news reports, some of it less accurate, let's just say, including some of the, October 7th reporting that was ultimately debunked, or suggestions by U.S. officials that was ultimately debunked by Israeli outlets, including Haaretz. Just to give you a sense of what this looked like in real time, let's put this up on the screen. We've got some quotes from the piece. Dozens of Israeli tech startups received emails and WhatsApp messages that month inviting them to join urgent meetings to become digital soldiers for Israel during the war, according to messages viewed by the Times. Some of the emails and messages were sent from Israeli government officials. Others came from tech startups and incubators. We can put the next piece up on the screen. Some of the fake accounts responded to posts by Richie Torres. Who else? I don't know why they felt like Richie Torres needed to be even more pro-Israel.
That's what I was going to say.
They just wanted to encourage him in his pre-existing direction, I guess. They would comment on anti-Semitism on college campuses in major U.S. cities. In response to a December 8th post on X, Mr. Torres about fire safety, one fake account replied, "Hamas is perpetrating the conflict," referring to the Islamist militant group. The post included a hashtag that said Jews were being persecuted. We've got another one here. They said the campaign also created 3 fake news sites. That's what I was talking about. Names like Non-Agenda and Unfold Magazine Non-Agenda, the opposite of what it was, which stole and rewrote material from outlets including CNN and the Wall Street Journal to promote Israel's stance during the war. According to fake reporters' analysis, that was the original news site that broke this story. Fake accounts on Reddit then linked to the articles on the so-called news sites to help promote them. And it was apparently pretty sloppy, this whole effort. It was not well done. I don't expect that it really had a lot of impact on the American political conversation. But in any case, they say in at least 2 instances, accounts with profile photos of Black men posted about being middle-aged Jewish women. On 118 posts in which the fake account shared pro-Israel articles, the same sentence appeared, quote, "I gotta reevaluate my opinions due to this new information." So I remember when Fake Reporter originally did this analysis, they brought up also these posts that would be profile picture of a Black man, and it would say as a middle-aged Jewish woman, I feel blah, blah, blah. So sloppy effort. I'm not saying it really changed the discourse, but Sagar, you remember the level of continued freak out about, some Russian Bernie bro memes on Facebook or whatever, that was determinative in the 2016 election. We still are living with the political, domestic, and foreign affairs ramifications of that whole entire freak out. And on this, we have confirmed an American ally directly running an influence op on our own population and elected officials. Crickets.
And in fact, the dollar amount here is more than the amount that was spent on those so-called Russian memes, which
amazing.
See, and this is the difference. At the time, we were like, yeah, this obviously didn't swing the election, okay. And then here around 2, this is actually terrible. As usual, it's not even particularly well done. No one is even claiming Richie Torres needed a meme to turn him more pro-Israel.
The AIPAC money is probably incentive enough for him.
Yeah, that's probably a hell of a lot more actually impactful, or even just genuine belief. I don't know what who he is. He's just craven. He just wants to get reelected. All right, so let's put that to the side. But considering what all these people said, including one MSNBC at the time Matt Miller said about Russian propaganda, it's a little bit different now that he's in the State Department briefing and the reporters are asking him about it. The Intercept's Prem Tucker, who we had here on the show, pressed him on it. Let's take a listen.
A little over 2 months ago, the U.S. announced sanctions on Russians for creating false websites and then using fake social media accounts to amplify the misleading content. So similar to what the government of Israel is reportedly carried out. And of course, the U.S. has taken similar stances over the past few years. So I'm wondering, I know that you said the U.S. has laws, you expect compliance. Will U.S. take similar action here?
So as I said in response to Nadi's question, right now we have a news report. It's not U.S. government information. So I'm not going to speak to it specifically, but I think I'll leave it at that. And as I said, though, we do have laws that we vigorously enforce, and we expect people to comply with them.
If the U.S. does find that this reporting does bear out, and this is not meant to be like a hypothetical, this is meant to be more of a commitment towards norms, will the U.S. act in accordance with how it has before, how it has with Russia?
So it is somewhat of a hypothetical, only because you have to actually look at the facts of every case and see what the appropriate response is. But as is always the case, we look at violations of our law. A lot of that is carried out by other agencies within the United States government and develop the appropriate response. But I can't respond with any level of detail here because it is always very fact specific.
It's always very fact specific. It actually was the opposite of fact specific whenever it came to Russia. And we had some BS report up from, what was it, from the ODNI? They're like, we conclude Russia tried to swing the election. And before even that, Matt Miller was on MSNBC and all this talking about how this is a complete catastrophe and a violation of sovereignty. So either they were lying at that time or they believed it then, but it's okay for Israel. But of course, as usual, there's an exception here.
Yeah, State Department, they've never seen the reports. They never know. They'll always get back to us. They're going to look into it. They can't really say, they don't really know what's a war crime. They don't know if the details are correct. I mean, they just, obviously you're never going to get a straight answer out of this guy, but it's very inconvenient for them. The fact of all the rhetoric surrounding Russia when it was in the context of, their influence up and their invasion of Ukraine and their war crimes, all that rhetoric that just unfolded from the state and continues to flow from the State Department, from Tony Blinken, et cetera. And then you ask about the same or worse atrocities when it comes to Israel, and suddenly they don't know, they can't say, they haven't seen, they haven't read the reports, they'll get back to you, and of course they never do. So no surprise there that the hypocrisy looms incredibly large. But it's also just an extraordinary look at how important Israel thinks these lawmakers' positions are.
That's right.
And, the fact that, again, this is supposedly a top ally, someone that we ship billions of dollars to every single year, this war or any other year notwithstanding. And, they're here meddling in our elections and messing with our lawmakers. And we don't have the self-respect to even stand up for ourselves and say, hey, maybe you don't do that. I wish you wouldn't interfere. And they have the gall anytime any of our lawmakers weighs in on their actions to say, hey, we're a sovereign country. How dare you? How dare you interfere? It's just the whole thing is preposterous.
Let's just respect each other's sovereignty, shall we? I'd be fine with that. I really would. But apparently that's not on the cards. Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.